Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, June 10th, 2022. The fire potential impacts for the next couple of days are shown here. We have a really hot heat wave that we're in the middle of right now across much of the Great Basin, especially Nevada and Utah for today. Tomorrow the heat remains, but we start to see some winds move into the region, especially northern Nevada and southern Nevada and southern Utah. With a cold front beginning to make its way into Idaho and some showers up there. And then on Sunday, that cold front pushes further south into all of Idaho and northern Nevada, but we see the winds increase in southern Nevada and Utah up to an exceeding 40 miles an hour with really hot temperatures and dry winds. So Saturday and Sunday will be critical days for the wind and the heat. Pretty dry the last 24 hours with no precip and no lightning. Fire activity is shown here. We've had just a few initial attack fires in the last 24 hours. One of them did get large there in southern Utah outside of Hurricane. It's about 600 acres. Observed precip for the past 14 days shown here, still showing that wet signal that we've had across the north, although it has been dry for the past few days. ERCs for a few areas are shown here over northern Utah and far southern Utah and the Arizona Strip. The values in northern Utah are up above normal for the time of year, but just slightly, still quite a ways below the historical maximums for the time of year. But then over the Arizona Strip, the values are above normal and just below the historical maximums. So still pretty dry, but not quite as dry as it ever has been for this time of year down there. This morning's satellite imagery continues to show the high-pressure ridge in place over much of the southwest U.S., including the southern Great Basin, Utah and Nevada, for hot temperatures region-wide or across those states. And then we can see that low moving into the Pacific Northwest, already bringing some cloud cover and cooler temperatures into the Pacific Northwest. So temperatures for today are going to be pretty warm for Utah and Nevada, highs in the mid-90s, much warmer down south, a little bit cooler in the north. Minimum RHs are pretty low for Utah and Nevada and a little bit higher there in Idaho and Wyoming. On Saturday, we'll begin to see that cold front moving into the Great Basin, the northern Great Basin, for some cooler temperatures and the possibility of some precipitation beginning there in Idaho, and the winds start to pick up across portions of Nevada and southern Utah. No high risk issued for Saturday, as those winds might be just below criteria. So for Saturday, temperatures dropping a bit across the north, but still remaining quite warm, especially over Utah. Maybe we'll shave off a few degrees on those high temperatures over Nevada. But then the winds do pick up over northern Nevada on Saturday, but the RHs will start to come up just a bit in those areas. And then some breezy winds over southern Utah picking up, but not quite strong enough for the the high risk event on the 7-day. On Sunday, however, that low makes a stronger shift inland and sends that cold front deeper into the Great Basin, and that really increases the winds over much of southern Nevada and southern and central Utah. We'll see cooler temperatures and some precip into the north. We can even see some of those zones going back down to green in Nevada as the temperatures drop and the RHs come up. So if we look closer, minimum relative humidities in Nevada or in Idaho now are in the 40s, and even in northern and western Nevada, those minimums are in the 30s. So pretty good increase in RH for the north and west. Still very dry in southern Nevada and Utah. The strongest winds on Sunday will be over northern Nevada, but because we have the higher relative humidity there, won't be as big of an impact. But when we have winds this strong, up to 50 miles an hour, so that could overcome that relative humidity, so definitely be keeping an eye on that. But where we have the combination of the low relative humidity and the strong winds will be over southern Nevada and Utah. The 3-day precip totals are shown here, looking for the bulk of the precip to come into Idaho. This is a pretty good precip event for them for June, mainly over the mountains and getting lighter over the southern valleys there, and maybe some precip into northern Nevada and northern Utah as well. On Monday, that low pressure swings further eastward and continues to send a cool front into Utah, but still out ahead of that front in southern and southeast Utah. We'll still see warm, dry, windy conditions, and we do have high risk for the conditions there. On Tuesday, that low will begin to shift off to the east, and the winds will lighten up across the area, and temperatures will be on the cooler side on Tuesday before beginning to warm by midweek. So on Wednesday, the high pressure starts to build back in a bit, and we'll see clear skies and warming temperatures across the region. That'll continue into Thursday as that high pressure builds just to our east there. And we're starting to see some green on the map here to our south, so looking for a setup for kind of a pre-monsoon surge into the basin. The timing and exact placement of the moisture is still uncertain, but it is looking like as we move into next weekend, some moisture is going to be coming from the south up into the Great Basin. So we'll be keeping a close eye on where that moisture comes, if it's going to be on the east side or the west side. So the 7-day totals shown here, just looking for that precip with the low coming in this weekend and early next week. And then we'll see what's on tap for next weekend. The extended forecast for June 17th through the 23rd is kind of wild. We have below normal temperatures expected across most of the west coast, including much of the Great Basin, and even some above normal temperature continuing, of course, over the Pacific Northwest. But now we see a pretty strong signal for that pre-monsoon surge into Arizona and up into Utah. Again, the exact placement of where the core of that moisture will be is probably a little too early to have much certainty in, but that signal is there. It's been there for a while, so we do expect to see some moisture coming up into the southwest, certainly, and into the southern Great Basin. And this concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.